in which I interview the biggest names in the world of politics, showbiz, academia, sport, music and beyond. I also speak to people who simply have a big story to tell. Now, Christopher Hamill, better known as pop superstar Limahl, was born on the 19th of December, surprisingly, in 1958. How is that possible? Born in Pemberton, in Lancashire, attending secondary school in Wigan, he eventually enrolled at the Westcliff-on-Sea Palace Theatre Repertory Company, and he was duly bitten by the showbiz bug. After several TV acting roles, as well as a role in a live production of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, Limahl began his life-changing career in music. First with a punk band called Vox Deus. No, me neither. I hope I pronounced that right. Followed by a band called Crossword. Then Brooks, with the guy who would go on to form Bucks Fizz, Mike Nolan. But the earth really moved when he answered an advert in the music magazine Melody Maker from a band called Art Nouveau to be their front man. They needed someone who could sing and looked good. Well, Limahl was your man. And that band went on to become Kajagoogoo, and the rest is history. They signed a deal with EMI and two other hits, including Ooh To Be R, Hang On Now, and their debut album, White Feathers, which skyrocketed up the charts. Limahl and the band fell out, more on that shortly, but you can't keep a good man down. And he went on to have a fabulous solo career, which continues to this day. He had hits like Only for Love and, of course, the title track of The Never-Ending Story. Let's take a listen to that particular banger. Well, let me tell you that his hair continues in all its resplendence, as does his career. He is touring the world to this day and records new music all the time. In fact, he's back right now with the festive single, One Wish for Christmas. He's going up against Elton, against ABBA, and against Sheeran. And I think he's going to win. Take a listen.
One wish for Christmas, gonna be with you. One wish for Christmas, baby, just us two. December is that time of year when memories become souvenirs. One wish for Christmas with you.
What a gorgeous tune. One Wish for Christmas is out now, and my wish to meet Limahl has now been achieved. Limahl, welcome to GB News.
Mark, that was a wonderful intro and the longest I think I've ever had.
Well, listen, you've had a long career and you've sold records, you've toured, and the best part about the story is that you're still going.
Yes, it's 39th year anniversary of Too Shy in January.
Amazing.
And 40 years of Never Ending Story in 2 years. I guess that means I've got to plan something for that figure.
Yeah.
But how is that possible when I'm only 39?
Yes. That's right, Wikipedia never lies.
Unfortunately, yeah, you can't just have a publicity, a PR statement anymore. You can't get away with it. You can't lie about your age anymore. It's all out there.
But you look incredible.
There.
And we were talking just before we came on air about your barnet, which is resplendent. I mean, that's what it's all about. Rod Stewart said that he's only going to quit music when his hair doesn't stand up anymore.
I suspect that Rod does have a little assistance to get it to stand up, because I have to do the same with mine. It's got thinner over the years, but they invented this amazing thing called straighteners.
This history.
This is like hair tips and secrets here.
And you've got some hot competition this Christmas, but it's a really strong single, One Wish for Christmas. Tell me why you made this record.
On my songwriter bucket list, I always wanted to write a song about Christmas, and I never thought it would happen. I put it off for years. I always wanted to write a song about London. I put that off for years. London I thought would be easier because in America we've got songs about the big cities, you know, LA, New York, San Francisco.
Right, Chicago.
We have the smaller places. We even have San Jose, Amarillo, Galveston, you know. But London, yeah, we could go on. But not that many about London, so A few years ago, I met the pianist and singer from the Savoy Hotel in London, John Nicol, really talented musician, and he happened to live around the corner from me, so we just got together one July, and we started writing a Christmas song in July, as you do.
Yes, of course, it takes time.
But being a British summer, it could have been raining that day, I don't know. It could have been autumn.
But you
autumnal.
were channeling Christmas, right?
Maybe. But, you know, we just talked. It was great because there was no deadline, no pressure, no manager and record company sort of breathing down our necks saying, where's the product, where's the product? And that's a nice way to create.
Yeah.
Just seeing what comes. And it's still exciting to go into a room and an hour later you've got maybe a verse or 8 bars of something that's quite nice. So you go from blank page and you're creating this sort of baby. And of course, you know, hopefully you end up. But every songwriter, every musician out there will tell you there's tons of stuff on the shelf. A verse here, a chorus there. In fact, that's how Noddy Holder's, the Slade record, the big Slade record, Christmas
Merry
record,
Christmas,
they took the record company said, we need an album. The album wasn't ready. Well, give us something for Christmas. So they had a verse somewhere tucked away. They had a chorus, completely separate ideas.
Amazing.
They changed the keys, you know, sort of worked on the lyrics. It can happen like that. So it doesn't always translate into something, but it's great when it does.
The Beatles did that. Some of their songs were composites of other bits of songs. It goes on all the time. I'm sure you've done that elsewhere in your career.
And you have to save those bits because you just might use them somewhere along the line, you know. And they feel precious to you because you thought of it. It just came into your head. It may have come into your head at first thing in the morning. It may have been in the shower, you know. I've gotten up, you know, I mean, now we have smartphones, but in the old days, I've gotten up and written things down that's come into my head. Or I've got out of bed in the morning and gone, I need to record something really quick. You know, I've got an idea. You just have to grab it while you can.
Were you a musical kid?
Oh, yes. Yeah. In the sense that I escaped in records. It was a council estate in Wigan that I was raised up. My family didn't have a lot of money. I had to work. I had to do the jobs you do as a kid, you know, to save up my 35p to go and buy that vinyl single.
From Our Price, or where did you go?
Oh, it was independent. Imagine an independent record shop in Pemberton, which you mentioned at the intro.
Yeah.
And I would go in there. I was like a kid in a sweet shop, you know, which record am I going to buy this week? And then on Tuesday and Thursday nights, I would take it down to the youth club. I was 14 or 15. So in that sense, I was crazy about music.
What music were you buying? Can you remember?
Oh, yeah, Motown.
Stevie Wonder?
Jackson 5, Marvin Gaye, Diana Ross and the Supremes, The Temptations, The Four Tops, Martha Reeves and the Vandellas, etc.
Yeah. Have you had a chance to meet any Motown stars?
I was once on a flight with the Temptations. I've had lunch with Diana Ross's lawyer. Does that count?
That's a start. What were you asking for? Were you in trouble?
Well, actually, he was looking after me for a while when I was signed to Arista in New York, but that's another story. Motown stars who I've met. Gosh.
You've met everyone in music, of course.
I've met a lot of people, yeah.
Yeah. Has that been a good thing? Should you meet your heroes?
Yeah, in the right circumstance. Now, I remember when we did our first Top of the Pops, and of course, I was instantly recognizable. And maybe the next morning, I'm leaning over the cheese counter in the local store, and someone taps me on the shoulder and says, hey, were you on Top of the Pops last night? Can I have your autograph? Yeah. You know, you don't want it in those instances, but of course it happens.
Of course it does. I mean, you had this hit, because the band formed. How long had you actually got together with the other members of Kajagoogoo before the single was released? Just a few months, wasn't it?
No, it was longer than that. It was 2.5 years, and that's why it always tickled me when the media called us an overnight sensation. Yeah. And it seemed like the real moment came when I met Nick Rhodes from Duran Duran, and he helped us with our.
He agreed to co-produce the record, and I guess having his name involved fast-tracked it, did it?
That wasn't in the plan. I was working at the Embassy Club in Bond Street. I served him a drink, and I started telling him about my band, Kajagoogoo. And in a later interview, he said he was charmed by my enthusiasm. Of course, I'm just verbal diarrhea going, you know, we're really good and we've done our demos and we're looking for a deal and blah, blah, blah. And just like that, he said, well, send me your songs.
That was remarkably generous of him, wasn't it?
Remarkably generous.
Unusual for the music industry. Wouldn't you say?
Well, I think...
Normally you'd get moved on by some of their security.
Yes, he was with his manager as well at the time, Paul Barrow. I think it's interesting that he was already looking outside of the Duran brand to expand himself as a producer. Because, of course, he co-produced our album, the only album that I made with Kajagoogoo, by the way, as a 5-piece. Remarkable, really, isn't it?
And it was an amazing hit album. A string of singles came out of that album. How did it change your life?
Oh, it changed everything, but in a good way. Imagine, I'm 23. I mean, arriving in London from Wigan was a big deal. Then I'm an extra in the Adam and the Ants video, Stand and Deliver, because the director happens to come to the Embassy Club. You know, there's a lot of networking and sometimes serendipity, being in the right time, the right place. What was your original question?
Well, yeah, but it changed your life. I mean, I guess financially, overnight fame once the single was released. I mean, it's very unusual for a band to have their biggest hit as their first one.
Yeah. Certainly any money didn't come straight away, but it was interesting that EMI Records started sending stretch limousines to pick us up.
How long did you stay at the Embassy Club working? Did you give that up straight away?
I had to, because we were busy, you know. The Embassy Club was a brilliant club. I mean, from the early 80s, you know, 80, 81, 82, everyone talks about Steve Strange's club, the Blitz Club, which I never went to because I was too busy at the Embassy Club. The Embassy Club was just as important.
Was it a private members club?
No, not at all. No.
Was it a casino? What was it?
It was a nightclub. And it just had that sort of clientele. You know, I'd see Lemmy at the fruit machine, getting drunk, losing his money. One night they had to call security because he was literally throwing the machine against the wall like this.
Amazing, amazing.
I saw Elton's manager there, John Reed. I saw Bananarama. I saw Gary Newman. Sometimes record companies would have parties there. I remember serving a drink to the singer from Rolls Royce. And I'm just a kid from Wigan, and I'm just lapping it up, and I'm serving champagne to bankers, and it was great. Great times, great memories.
Great times. And of course you had an amazing solo career. I don't like dwelling on the negatives, but you guys did break up in your pomp. What went wrong?
The band were a very kind of artsy, studenty band. And that was the plan. And
you
of course...
pop superstar.
I didn't really have a plan. I just...
Were you more, if we're honest, were you more ambitious than they were?
No, I think they were very hungry, but their destination was very specific. They wanted to be the artsy, and suddenly we became teeny idols. I mean, no one saw that coming, you know. I guess maybe the record company did market us and manipulate us to a certain degree. But when I look back at the old pictures, I think, well, I'm not surprised. You know, we were...
figure.
You know, we were...
You were a very, I mean, you're a very handsome man. You were a very cute kid.
We were cute kids. And I'll take the compliment, thank you.
Definitely.
At my age. But, you know, that was... They wanted to go somewhere else. And, yeah, maybe they went about it the wrong way. Maybe it would have been different if we'd had a better manager.
Were you difficult? Were you an awkward customer?
Not at all.
Were you a pain in the arse to work with?
I was not a pain in the arse. I've never...
Diva?
No, I never had any... I'm not a diva. I never had any diva strokes. I was a vegetarian. I cared about animals, and I certainly cared about people. And I loved the band. I loved them. It was a total shock out of the blue.
And it could have been devastating, except for the fact that you are a survivor and you bounced back with a solo career and immediately the hits came again. So that must have been very gratifying. You must have thought, okay, I've got another chance, another crack at this.
There's some luck in that, Mark. You know, no one was interested in the 80s for most of the 90s. And then in 1998, one of the first compilation 80s albums came out and it went to #1 when people bought CDs.
Wow.
You know?
Those were the days.
And then they started 80s nights on radio stations and 80s events. And suddenly the phone started ringing. So I've been working live doing 80s, usually 80s related. But of course I can sing other songs. You know, I love jazz and I don't do rock and I don't do rap.
Bit of soul though, bit of Motown.
Bit of soul, bit of Motown. But, you know, since around 98, 99, I've been working around the world.
Well, you're a one-man brand. You're one of the first artists to be known by his sole name of Limahl. You know, you're an iconic figure of the 80s.
I've got to 63 almost as to the music and social media has kind of, you know, played a part in that. And it's all been, and so I released my first new recording. I thought, okay, well, I'll see if anyone's interested. In 2020, I released my first single, Still in Love. And the reviews were incredible. And they were saying words like legend, superstar, pop star, icon. And I'm reading this and I'm thinking, well, if I knew this was going to come, I would have just waited patiently.
Yeah.
It's really weird. I got to 60 and I sort of get some cred points for getting to 60. And they are using these words and I'll gladly accept them. They're very nice. I don't use those words. My mum does in Wigan.
and what's fantastic is that you reunited with Kajagoogoo, yourself and Nick Beggs, who you mentioned. So you're on really good terms and you've recorded and performed together since.
Yeah, that was 10 years ago in 2008, 9, 10. We did a little tour. And that was interesting, you know, coming back with another perspective. And then it ended, and we've all gone off and done our separate projects. People on social media are saying, will it happen again? And I just say never. I don't know. I think Nick has a big part to play in that. You know, he kind of ended the reunion. He said, that's it, I've had enough one day. If that's how we felt, that's fine. I don't think anyone did anything to upset him. I just, you know.
Well, more's the pity, but I'm sure a reunion will be in the offing. But either way, history tells us that you don't need the band. You are a brand in your own right, and people buy your records, they buy tickets to your shows. How can people find out more about your work?
Yeah, easiest thing is go to limahl.com, where you can link to me on social media. And everything else that's going on.
Well, I'm properly starstruck. Privileged to have you in the studio. Limahl, the man, the legend, the myth.
you.
The single is out now. It's a Christmas #1, let me tell you. Elton's quaking in his boots.
Yeah!
It is called One Wish for Christmas. So give it a stream, give it a listen. Buy a copy if you can, if you want to be old school. I'm very excited to have a CD here. Brilliant stuff. My sincere thanks to Limahl. Limahl, do come.